how familiar are you with the enemy of my enemy trope?
I mean, I'm fair. Like, in what capacity? I know the trope.
So, would you consider Tucker Carlson an enemy?
Yes, but also I know that he's been beefing with a lot of the conservatives right now. I've been hearing a little bit about that.
All right. Well, apparently, one day ago, Ben Shapiro dismantles Tucker Carlson's attacks on Trump. So, I'm curious what's going on here. This seems like it's interesting.
Sounds like a fun time. I know that there seems to be a schism right now in the conservative party because a lot of them are warmongers and just really, really want Israel to like bomb the shit out of Palestine and
they
Iran.
They really like
now.
blood.
They really like blowing up brown people. And I know Ben Shapiro is famously one of those people. But I guess there's like another sect that are trying to still stick to this anti-war, like peaceful dove kind of rhetoric, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, which is interesting. And, you know, I'm all for the girlies fighting. So.
Let's take a look at what we got then.
Sure.
So, quick thing. Can you hear this?
On the right, who have now declared that they...
Yes, I can hear just fine. Thank you.
All right, that is unfortunate for both of us. Also,
True.
Can I just say, real quick, Ben Shapiro is a man who really likes to pretend that he's very, very masculine. We've seen him do the double guns thing. We've seen him attempt to actually, like, really, really stick to this, I am in the same league as the Matt Walshes and others of the world, trust me, bro. So, I'm just curious, why does he have such a goddamn passing voice? Why does he just sound like a very well-passing trans girl?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's interesting, right? Because he kind of rose to prominence despite, like, his femininity. Because if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, like, he doesn't strike me as like a real man's man. You know, he's kind of a geek, but like, I guess people just found him smart.
Like, if you put him next to Abby Shapiro, it's really hard to tell the difference between the two of them. If you shave his face and you put him in a blouse, you just have Abby at that point.
Yeah, that's why he had to grow that moss on his face that he calls a beard. So
they are the leaders of MAGA, not Donald Trump, actually. It turns out that they are the great leaders of America First and MAGA. So Tucker Carlson put out a statement on Friday in his newsletter in which he suggested that the United States was, quote, complicit, not the United States, Donald Trump was complicit in Israel's, quote unquote, act of war. The title of the newsletter was, this could be the final.
I mean, he was. Like, it's like, where's the argument about that? Yes, Donald Trump is complicit in Israel doing bad things. What?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't like Tucker Carlson, but he is objectively correct about that. Yeah. I fail to see. I'm interested to see what his point is.
Final newsletter before all-out war, in which he suggested basically World War III was going to break out. The newsletter says, while the American military may not have physically perpetrated the assault, years of funding and sending weapons to Israel, which Donald Trump just bragged about on Truth Social, undeniably placed the U.S. at the center of last night's events. Washington knew these attacks would happen. They aided Israel in carrying them out. Politicians purporting to be America First can't now credibly turn around and say they had nothing to do with it. Our country is in deep. So Donald Trump is purporting to be America First. Only Tucker Carlson, who tours Moscow supermarkets to talk about how good the bread is and how he wishes that our subway system ran just like Moscow's. Only Tucker Carlson, who does interviews with the leadership of Qatar and talks about how they are an amazing ally.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there, Ben. So you're just doing a tu quoque. You're just doing whataboutism. What about you, Tucker Carlson? What about you? You haven't actually, like, given a good point. You've just said no, you're a Russian asset. You can't talk about what America First is because you're a Russian asset. I don't disagree that Tucker Carlson is likely a Russian asset. I just don't think that that's a useful line of information when the things that he's saying are objectively true in this case.
Right. Like, appeals to hypocrisy are fine in some circumstances when you're trying to prove a point about somebody's character. And certainly Tucker Carlson's character is worthy of being called into question, but that doesn't say anything about what Trump did or did not do. So not the best point here.
To the United States while they simultaneously support Hamas. Only Tucker Carlson, who hosts people like Daryl Cooper, the greatest and most honest historian in America, according to Tucker Carlson, who over the weekend suggested that America should launch missiles against Tel Aviv. Only Tucker Carlson is truly America.
So hold on. We've now taken the appeal to hypocrisy and we've aimed it in such a weird, cockeyed direction. The statement was about this person being a bad historian, right? Because when you start the statement off that this person who's supposed to be the best historian, according to Tucker Carlson, just said we should shoot missiles here. Yeah, you said he was a historian, not somebody who would be really, really good with like modern day war plans, right? That's a different set of skills. Somebody can be a really good historian and a really shitty painter. Somebody can be a really good historian and be a really shitty strategist. Being a student of history, good or bad, I don't know this person, has no bearing on whether or not them wanting missiles to be sent somewhere is a good or bad idea. This is just the Tukokwe thing again. And I know Ben knows this because I know he went to college for this shit. He just ignores it, I guess.
Yeah, he hasn't, again, said anything about whether or not what he's saying is, what Tucker is saying is true, like how it's false, you know, like it's because it's not, and he's not going to be able to like prove that it is. So just interesting.
First,
but that's,
not
I mean,
Donald
that's
Trump.
his MO, right? He like deflects, you know, away from the point, so he doesn't have to answer these questions. That's what a bunch of them do.
Alpha Mario just saying Suris low-key referencing Hitler. Look, you can be an amazing painter and be shit at running a country. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my god, I cannot believe I did not get that. I'm so, my brain is fried right now. I was just telling your chat, I've been running. So like, sorry if my commentary is a little bit stale.
Oh, you're entirely fine. I'm effectively doing this right after getting back from Washington D.C. My brain is also
more busy than me.
My brain is also running on like fried potato skins right now.
You could have fooled me.
Well, I appreciate that. That sounds like a very nice compliment. I'm gonna go chew drywall now.
Not Donald Trump, who built the America First movement, who built MAGA. Only Tucker Carlson and his friends are truly MAGA and America First. And then Tucker over the weekend doubled down on this. He said, the real divide isn't between people who support Israel and people who support Iran or the Palestinians. The real divide is between those who casually encourage violence and those who seek to prevent it, between warmongers and peacemakers. Again, this is Tucker's shtick, is that anyone who opposes him is a warmonger who wants more war and just loves war, loves. Okay. Please.
Prove that you
Who are the people who love war, just desperately want war? So he actually says, who are the warmongers? They would include anyone who's calling Donald Trump today to demand airstrikes and other direct U.S. military involvement in war with Iran. On that list, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Rupert Murdoch, Ike Perlmutter, and Miriam Adelson. At some point, they will all have to...
I mean, so Tucker Carlson would definitely have some words about Rupert Murdoch, considering that he was his boss up until like a year ago, right?
Yep.
Like,
it's just crazy because, like, isn't it weird? Because, like, 5 years ago, if you had told me that this would be what Tucker Carlson's doing now, I think that I would have asked, like, where your tinfoil hat is, you know, or something like that. Like, it's crazy how things have changed.
I mean, it's kind of evidence that people like Tucker chase the money, right? And that's not...
Yeah.
Again, this is not me doing the thing that Ben Shapiro's doing where I throw everything he says under the bus saying it's just for the money. No, Tucker Carlson is a person who did the things he did and said the things he did because it was getting him a paycheck. Now, by being this isolationist, because what this is isolationism, right? Which is a problem in and of itself, but there's two sides of isolationism. Not getting involved in the wars of other countries, which is a good or bad thing, depending on what the wars are, depending on what the countries are. In this case, getting involved on Israel's side would be a bad thing because they're actively involved in a genocide. And then the other side of isolationism is about support, which we know that Donald Trump really, really, really does not want America involved in trade with a lot of other countries. At least he didn't when he was throwing giant tariffs out there that basically made us an island for a couple months, right? So what he's doing is just isolationism of a flavor, which is something that the people that he's arguing against also do, just of a different flavor. This is a Neapolitan thing of ice cream, and the chocolate is looking over at the strawberry and saying, fuck you, you're not real ice cream.
Is it that Donald Trump didn't want us involved in trade? Because I know that was the outcome. So you can reasonably argue that point. But in my opinion, I think it was more that like Donald Trump is just stupid. And so he saw that like there is a quote unquote trade deficit. And he was like, well, that's not fair. You know, like why is there a trade deficit? And it's like, well, that's how exchange of goods and services work with money sometimes.
So I think you're probably right that his stupidity is the factor involved there, but he literally did say multiple times that tariffs are going to bring business back to the United States. They're going to bring manufacturing back to the United States.
You're right.
Like, I don't deny that he's a goddamn idiot. But
that's a testament because like he wants America to be making everything. Which is impossible. Like who was it that brought up the point about bananas, right? Like how the hell are we going to make bananas here? We don't have the climate for it anywhere in this country. So like when you put a tariff on bananas, that doesn't make any sense. Like we can't make there's no incentive. Like tariffs, I did a little bit of research a while back. Tariffs originally existed to incentivize domestic production of goods and services, you know? So like when you can't make a good here, to put a tariff on it is insane. It's ludicrous. It makes no sense.
So there is a moment. And I've talked about this moment on stream because it means a fuck ton to me. But there is a moment in World War Z, the book. Have you read it before?
I feel like I started it, and then because I was ADHD, I got bored, so...
Understandable. So, there is a moment where one of the leaders of the world is talking with the main character. The main character in the book is a reporter who's putting together a report for the current version of the FBI to try to give a report on like how the world fell and came back again from the zombie apocalypse. And what he says, what the leader says to the reporter is molasses from the United States, anise from Spain, licorice from France, vanilla and bourbon from Madagascar, cinnamon from Sri Lanka, cloves from Indonesia, wintergreen from China, pimento berry oil from Jamaica, and balsam oil from Peru. These are the ingredients necessary to manufacture root beer. One of the most American drinks you can think of is a bottle of fucking root beer, and it cannot exist in a world where America's isolated. And then he notes that Then he notes that since the zombie apocalypse, he hasn't been able to actually have a fresh thing of root beer because they don't have the manufacturing lines or the shipping lines. They have none of that. Like, all those lanes get shut down in the story. And it's such a silly thing to think about, but it is kind of evidence of like what it's like to take an interconnected world for granted. And so when you do the whole let's use tariffs to make sure that all the manufacturing comes back to the United States, I always think to that quote. I always think to that moment in the book where it's like, that functionally can't happen. There's a level of ingredients that are literally, like you were mentioning, based in climates that we just don't fucking have here.
Yeah. And somebody mentioned like that's simple, conquer someplace. Yeah, I mean that is another option, I guess. I wouldn't put it past Trump to try. I mean, he already did it with Greenland, right? And then another thing is, two more things. One is that like even if we could, let's say that we could make bananas here, you know, nobody fucking wants to. Like, no, like you ask Americans, what was the poll? It was like, should we bring manufacturing back to America? And everybody's like, oh yeah, totally. That sounds great. American made products. And then they're like, okay, who wants to work the factories? Nobody.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. And
like, oh well, other people will work it. Yeah, okay.
and where will the other people come from? They're gonna come from other countries, and then they're gonna do the shit jobs here. Like Florida, known for orange juice, not really created or not really manufactured by Floridians, though. Manufactured mostly by illegal immigrants.
Yeah, and then the other thing is one of your chatters said those are the ingredients to make a human. And to that chatter, I say you should probably revisit Full Metal Alchemist and brush up on that.
Yeah, that's a bit different. That's a little bit different.
Got to revisit that. Don't do human transmutation though. I've heard that's bad.
I think you should do human transmutation. I think it's fine.
You're gonna get banned off of Twitch for saying that. You can't say that.
No, we have to look. We have to make mothers great again, and we do so by bringing them back from the dead.
Oh no. I mean, like, if you consider what they actually did bring back, and you look at Donald Trump making America great again, it's like
it's kind of the same thing.
So, yeah, they're kind of similar, you know.
So you're saying that Donald Trump is sitting there on his toilet going, water 35 liters, carbon 20 kilograms, ammonia 4 liters, lime 1.5 kilograms.
I think it's more like he took like a bunch of pig meat and was like, I heard human tastes kind of like pig. We'll just try this, and then he like throws it in the middle of the pentagram or whatever.
No, Trump would be the kind of person to take a bit of pork and try to stretch it out, and they said they kept calling it long pig. I'm trying.
Oh God.
Answer for this, but you should know their names now. So first of all, I'm not aware that any of those people are directly calling Donald Trump and saying that he must directly intervene in this current conflict.
All right, so Ben Shapiro, I appreciate the appeal to autism. I really do. But saying the phrase, this is a thing that Rupert Murdoch wants, and using the rebuttal, did he say exactly those words? It is not a rebuttal. You can look at the vernacular that is currently being espoused on Fox News. You can look at those things and say, oh, these are the things that Murdoch wants, because that is his news organization. That is what, like, the information that comes out of there comes at his behest. He is the final say on those things. And if somebody says things that Murdoch does not want them to say on Fox News, they don't end up being a Fox News host for very long. And Ben Shapiro, you should be very, very familiar with how this works, given your time on the Daily Wire and your history with Candace Owens. You should know exactly how this works.
Yeah, that's like just a basic tenet of being a boss, right? Like you take responsibility for your employees and what they do and what they say. So like, even the best case here is that Rupert Murdoch is an idiot and doesn't like review anything that anybody on his networks are saying, which is certainly a take you can have, but like that doesn't help him at all, I don't think.
No, not really.
It just means he's purposefully, he's just being blatantly ignorant at that point.
Second of all, his suggestion that you're a warmonger if you want the Iranian nuclear program to end.
Thank you
And I
again,
guess Donald
Socrates.
Trump is a warmonger because Donald Trump wants the nuclear program to end. And you know who said that? Donald Trump. Because you know who the actual leader of MAGA is? Donald Trump. He created MAGA. It is Donald Trump who created the America First movement.
No, Ben. Donald Trump did not create the America First movement. The America First movement is very old. And You can even make an argument that he did not create the MAGA movement, because Donald Trump doesn't create, he apes. He takes things that have already been done beforehand and he puts his branding on them. The MAGA movement is not, it is currently his movement, but it is not a movement that he created whole cloth. It is a movement that he took from Reagan. The Make America Great movement from Reagan. Yeah, it's the Make America Great movement from Reagan. He took the Make America Great movement, and then he added in more of that reality star fanaticism that shows what it is today. And in terms of America First, that movement, and that also is an isolationist movement, that movement has been around since he was a fucking child. We have political cartoons about the old America First movement where Dr. Seuss was comparing them to Nazis. Like, we have actual evidence that these movements have existed in different forms a long time ago, because Donald Trump doesn't create these things. He apes them.
Same wolf, different clothes.
It is not Tucker Carlson, and it is not Marjorie Taylor Greene, who similarly put out a tweet saying, quote, everyone is finding out who are the real America First MAGA and who are fake, and just said it because it was popular. So I guess that Donald Trump is not the real America First MAGA. Only Marjorie Taylor.
He's not, like, actually. So I'm actually willing to defend the statement. He's not MAGA or America First. He's Donald Trump first, and he's whatever works for me, I will use until it is unusable. He's not really concerned with making America great again, as evidenced by his time where he was working with the fucking techno-fascists who wanted, and when I'm saying that, I'm talking about like Elon Musk, who want techno-feudalism, which by its nature requires the United States to no longer exist, because the techno-feudalism movement is about taking our states and breaking them up into small provinces that can be bought and sold among techno-bureaucrats.
He is very good. Like, I don't know how people fell for it. Like, how did they fall for a fucking businessman being like, oh yeah, I'm so patriotic and I care about you and your family and we're going to make this country great. And it's like, well, dog, he's a businessman. He'll say whatever makes him money. and for him specifically gets him accolades, because that's big for him. You know, he cares about his image and presentation. He's very good at presentation. But it's all smoke and mirrors. It's, you know, he doesn't, I mean, we know this obviously, but like, it's just funny that like he was able to, and I think Ben knows this too. He's not stupid. He used to hate Trump, but you know, it's just crazy how like he's managed to pull the wool over so many people's eyes when he's like, literally, if you look at like depictions of the Antichrist, he is like the devil incarnate. Wild. Never
Cinder,
give a shit about this country.
Thank you for redeeming your points for an fucking DGen.
Green, an obscure congresswoman from Georgia until Donald Trump tapped her on the head, is the real America First MAGA. She says anyone slobbering for the U.S. to become fully involved in the Israel-Iran war is not America First MAGA. Who are the people who are slobbering for the U.S. to become, quote unquote, fully involved? Literally no one has called for a ground invasion of Iran. No one has suggested that the United States...
Are we sure about that? Is this like literally no one as in no one, or literally no one as in no one of note, or literally no one as in no one of influence? Like what's the criteria here for literally no one? Because that's a very strong claim.
Have you ever done the Nazi versus Zionist quiz?
I have not, no.
It's a very good one. I did it just the other night, and I recall quotes from Zionists throughout history who have like always been saying we need to drive them out of their land. Like that may not be specifically calling for like, you know, it may not be a specific plan of action, but like they've been, and maybe not, sorry, that's referring to Palestine, I guess, but it's not as if they haven't done this already. You know, it's not as if it's like way out there. So, and when it does happen, Ben Shapiro's not going to take any of this back either. So,
and like, the thing is, on the one hand, I could just go find examples, because like whenever you say literally no one, the easiest thing to do is to find an example and then say, haha, you're wrong. But that's not super useful here. What we have to do is instead look at what Ben Shapiro's trying to do. What he's trying to do is pull a no true Scotsman. Literally no one in this movement is saying this, is not that far off from everyone in my movement is a Scotsman, and literally none of them put sugar in their porridge. Like, it's just the same thing. It's the same fallacy. He's done the no true Scotsman fallacy for MAGA and America First, and in the same breath, he's done the Tukul Quay fallacy twice. Like, we can just play fallacy bingo with Ben.
Right. I mean, he loves his fallacies.
He does.
He's a phallic man.
He's a very phallic man.
Yeah.
He is. He is. But imagine, hypothetically, for the sake of argument, that you were in a hot tub with the bros, 5 feet apart, because it's not gay.
Ought to be fully involved in a gigantic takeover of Iran, a regime rebuild. No one is calling for that. Even if you're calling for a single airstrike on Fordo, you know what that looks a lot like? It looks like a single airstrike on Qasem Soleimani, which President Trump did in 2020 and was ripped by people like Tucker Carlson, who said that it was going to turn into a regional war. Here's my big question for folks like Tucker. When he suggests that there are these people who are calling Donald Trump and demanding he do things, who does he think is the decision maker? The decision maker in the White House is Donald J. Trump.
Is it, though? Okay, so...
Yeah. I listen, I'm not well read up enough to know exactly who it is, but I can tell you for a fucking fact that man is in no position to be making decisions right now. Sorry.
Much like how Ronald Reagan was the final decision maker in the last year of his presidency, where Nancy Reagan mostly did all the work instead of him, I don't think the statement means the same thing for this, like, at all.
Trump has taken the same position on the Iranian nuclear program since literally the first minute he came down the golden escalator. He has not changed. Not one iota. Does Tucker really think that Donald Trump is so manipulable that he gets a...
He's older, for sure, and more senile, I think.
Yeah.
I think he has less of a filter, too.
Like, he didn't have much of a filter in the last 10 years to begin with, but it's certainly gotten worse, especially since he has his own social media program, so it's not like he has to think, oh, what if I get banned for saying this? He doesn't have to think about that anymore.
It doesn't matter even if he didn't have that. He could just be on Twitter saying whatever the hell he wants.
He said he did change. The dementia has progressed since 2017.
That's what I'm saying. It's exactly my point. Like, it's wild.
Call from Ike Perlmutter, and suddenly he changes his entire perspective on the Middle East? What a low opinion Tucker Carlson must have of Donald Trump's capacities, that he thinks that he can manipulate him from the outside, or that others are manipulating him in that particular way. By the way, President Trump fired back at all of this over the weekend. He did an interview with The Atlantic, and he was asked about whether the move runs counter to America First. And Trump said, well, considering I'm the one that developed America First, and considering that the term wasn't used until I came along, I think I'm the one that decides that. Yes. For those people who say they want peace, you can't.
That just settles it.
So that, that settles it. Also, I want to say, didn't Donald Trump pretty drastically change his position on Israel recently? Like, maybe not like that drastically, but like he was like buddy with Netanyahu for a while, and then like didn't at a certain point. And forgive me for not following that the conflict too closely, but I've just been hearing rumblings here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Did he not get like upset with Netanyahu for like not negotiating?
I'm not 100% certain, but the internet
there was like a point
know.
of contention. Yeah.
Trump versus Netanyahu. Let's see here. Netanyahu and Trump Grandmaster beats deal maker is the first thing on Politico. Oh dear. Oh dear. Give me just a second. Let me move this over so we can take a read here. We'll go back to
Okay.
Ben Shapiro here in a second, but I want to
Sure.
read this. Let's see here. Donald Trump loyalists are shaping a narrative of how U.S. leader outfoxed Iran and lulled the mullahs into thinking that he would restrain Benjamin Netanyahu. More likely, the Israeli prime minister just outthought them all. Why am I not surprised at just reading that? Because the big narrative with Trump for the longest time has been when Trump does something batshit stupid, it's 4D chess. It's always 4D chess.
They did the same thing when it was Elon versus Trump. When Elon was like high on ketamine or whatever, making Twitter posts every like 3 minutes, and he said that Trump's in the Epstein files, and it's like everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, like you guys don't get it. Like this is big brain time." Okay, you simple-minded fools just don't understand the complexities of what's happening here. But I do, because I'm smart.
You seen the pictures of Elon and Trump, and Elon's just like, okay, and then next I'll call you a pedophile, and then Trump just goes, perfect, it's perfect.
I haven't seen that, no.
Like, it's
but yeah, like
yes, that's exactly.
That's personally what. Yeah, that's personally what I would do. Is I would hit like you up and be like, hey, I need people to like me better so that I can boost my numbers and I can look good. Can you please call me a pedophile?
Absolutely. I'll do that real quick.
It's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll just talk about how you really, really like, something that you absolutely abhor. And you know what? That's going to sell the entire public on you. That's going to sell the public on you.
I think you're right. I think you're right. If they get any kind of inclination that maybe I'm not a good person, I think that'll be really good for me.
I think it's perfect. It's a stellar plan.
Yeah.
And you know what? Afterwards, after two days of it, when I've come down from my high, then I will apologize afterwards. That will show that actually, no, you weren't in the Epstein files, really.
It's so goofy, man. I don't understand where these people are at mentally.
Donald Trump.
Even I was a conservative once, and so were you, if I recall correctly. Like, even I was not this stupid. Like, that's crazy.
I feel like I was. I'm pretty sure I was.
I was pretty bad. I don't know if I would have gotten that bad. But you know what? Times are different, so who knows?
See, Donald Trump doesn't play chess, a game requiring patience and method. Trying to guess what goes through the U.S. president's mind when making decisions is probably a fool's errand. After all, many a top former aide, notably one-time National Security Advisor John Bolton, say Trump doesn't really have ideas, only instincts and reactions. His decision-making is ad hoc, chaotic, and episodic. This all stands in marked contrast to Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, so this is the entire thing is just going to say Netanyahu's a big smart boy and Trump's actually a big old dum-dum, which I'm willing to say that Netanyahu is smart. I just also think he's evil. Like, I'm willing to say both of those things.
I think he's smart enough. I think he's smart but disconnected. I think because when I think about whether or not he's like really smart, I think about like those what was that, like the propaganda that he pushes is not very good. But that's more a matter of him being so disconnected from like reality that like he doesn't understand what looks good and what doesn't. He's smart enough to get to where the fuck he is now. So like, yeah, I'd be willing to say he is smarter than Trump.
James with a Z, reading is anti-working class because proletariat movements historically speaking not been all that literate, and appealing to reading is bourgeoisie propaganda.
I agree. It's also ableist.
Imagine if they can't read. Like, what do they do if they can't read? Fucking ableist fuck? If they can't read. Okay, well, let's see what else we got from Ben here, because we kind of know the gist of the article now.
Okay, yeah.
Can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. See, this is what not stupid people say. Because President Trump is a not stupid person.
Pause for just a second.
Because President Trump is a not stupid person.
The point in all that was, though, Donald Trump is absolutely being manipulated by people behind the scenes. There's no doubt in my mind.
No, not in mine either.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but we actually, hold on, no. I don't even have to say that with a lick of confidence. I can say that with 100% confidence because Project 2025 exists. We know for a fact, with evidence we can point to, that there are organizations and think tanks like the Heritage Foundation that are actively puppeteering a lot of things Trump is doing. Obviously, many of the things he's doing are of his own volition and also evil and stupid, but we can say with 100% confidence that he is, in fact, being puppeted by people as well as being a narcissistic evil son of a bitch.
Absolutely.
Jasper Roxy says, this man has a JD from Harvard. No way he believes the bullshit coming out of his front hole. So I feel like there may be, to psychoanalyze Ben is to look at a man who should know better, but has been doing this long enough that I feel like he's probably drunk his own Kool-Aid. I think. I have no evidence of that.
It's either that, or it could be a combination of both of these as well. Sometimes I think what goes on in some of these people's heads is that they know they're lying, but they think they're doing it for like a good cause. You know, so like even if they don't believe the words coming out of their mouth, they're like, well, this is the best way to get the job done.
Yeah.
So I really don't know which one it is with him. It's kind of hard to get a read, but yeah, it could be either. I mean, like you smell your own farts long enough, you just start believing it.
And like he is an incredibly smart person because you don't become as articulate as he is. You don't become as well read as he is without at least having a little bit of smarts. The correct thing to do with Ben is not to look at him and go, "Oh, look at what a big old dum-dum." That just makes you look like an idiot as well. What he is, more than anything, is a politician and a pundit. But he's a pundit who gets a lot of money for saying the things that he does.
Yes, and he is also a failed actor, correct.
True. And when I'm saying he's a politician, I'm not meaning like careered politician. I'm meaning in the way that a politician lies as often as they breathe. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where they will say the things the things to move an audience.
Yeah, exactly. A rhetorician, if you will.
Yes, rhetorician. Melby 10, best viewers on Boost Beam. You know what? Melby, I have great news for you. Did you know that some of the best pills for elongating your life are about 9 millimeters in a particular diameter, and we won't get into the specifics of what. And they tend to be delivered at very high velocity. And when you are delivering them, they can double as suppositories if you really want. But I would not recommend that for expediency's sake.
No lube required.
No lube required. No, they are self-lubricating, I promise.
Yeah.
They'll make their way through whatever you need them to go through. But you just have to make sure to use them for yourself.
That's true. I can attest to that. I'm a healthcare professional.
He says, but like he's literally paid by oil billionaires for $150 million startup propaganda mill. Yeah, like that's the thing. Ben Shapiro is smart, and the smartest thing he's done is follow the money. I'm never gonna say that he is the biggest idiot on the planet. I will say so in like a hyperbolic way where I'm trying to insult him, but I'm never going to say that from like the perspective of a person who makes content for money. He saw a bag and he chased it, and he's been chasing that bag ever since. That's what he does. He makes his money by lying, and so he will continue to lie.
He does want to sell his house to Aquaman, but other than that, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That one was kind of weird.
That was so funny. I'll never get over it.
Sell the house to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman?
Aquaman. I love the way he says Aquaman. Oh, God.
H-Bomber guys are the best.
What a gem. What a gem. I love him.
If only we could be as good at our jobs as H-Bomber guy.
No shit, right?
People who are attacking him today have predicted that BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, in economic union, they're going to get involved in this in some form or fashion. That's what those.
I mean, if BRICS got involved with Donald Trump, I wouldn't be opposed, but I think we might be talking about different things.
Oh yeah, good point.
Axel says, am I crazy or do his eyebrows feel too dark? Like, they match his hair, but they feel too dark? So his eyebrows only feel too dark because since the hair on his mustache and beard is so thin, it looks lighter because it's being colored by his skin. If you want a really good example of this, if you've ever seen like a dot painting where there's only 3 colors being used, but the way they're arranged not only makes a bunch more colors appear, but they also make a giant image. That's what's happening here. His hair looks lighter on his face, which is what you focus on, but his eyebrows look darker because they're just thicker than the hair on his face.
Good catch. I could never figure out why the beard looks so fucking bad on him. Like, it's not a terrible beard. It just looks really bad with like his eyebrows and yeah, and it's really thin. Yeah,
like that's really it. James with AZ. Thank you for the follow. So I thought he was using darker eyebrow or pencil. I mean, he's a media personality. There's no world where he's not using some form of makeup, right? Like, that's obviously a thing that he's doing because that's what media personalities do. They do themselves up for the camera because it's a smart thing to do when the camera's involved. But I think because we've seen him on his, like, not done up, just kind of, like, out in the morning podcast, and he looks kind of like this as well, I think that the makeup that they use for him is just being used solely to accentuate what's already there. You're not really getting anything different or colored incorrectly because of it.
Very, he's breaking gender binaries. So I just wanted to point that out there. But Sage Tanuki, tier 2, sorry, thank you for the tier, sorry, my brain. Thank you for 2 tier 1 gifted subs. And he asked, have either of you covered Young Cardamom yet? And I have to say, no, I don't think I have.
I have not. Do you have anything in regards to that you could send me? Because just coming back from DC and Florida, I've been kind of out of the loop on the content creation mill for politics stuff. And it feels kind of awful, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I've been mostly involved in drama, so...
James says, why did your H-Bomber guy impression sound like Joker when you said Aquaman? Because I do a fairly accurate Mark Hamill Joker impression, and it's the base that I use for my Dr. Eggman voice in a series I did on a video game channel. So that's probably awesome. That's probably why that slips through. Because, like, when you've done a voice for a while for practice or anything, it kind of slips into other things.
I don't want to get into it now, but after this segment's over, I want to talk a little bit about the how the voice acting thing is going. I'm interested.
Sure. There's not a whole lot to say, but I am willing to talk about it.
Sweet.
Those people say President Trump is not one of those people because he's not a stupid person. Quote, so for all of those wonderful people who don't want anything to do about Iran having a nuclear weapon, that's not peace. Correct. And nothing has changed. He's been saying that the entire time. The entire time he's been saying that. The President of the United States. So, again, all the isolationists who are horseshoeing around and having fun, happy times with all of their friends on the left, retweeting each other. We should just note who those people are and what they actually believe about the President of the United States.
Okay, so the reason that you get the isolationists from the right, because most of your left-wingers, if they're not tankies, usually are not isolationists. Usually they favor more open borders, more open trade, more open transfers of skills. Usually on the left, you're going to find a lot of that. So I don't think it's that the leftists and the isolationists are getting buddy-buddy. I think what's happening is we're watching people we hate fight each other, and we're going, Yas Queen, and egging them on because it's funny. That's what I think is happening. Because that's what I'm doing right now.
I agree. Yes, me too. And also, like, I don't think they're coming from... I don't think anybody on the right when they're like quote unquote against what Israel's doing, whatever. I mean, some of them might be authentically against it, but from what I've seen and from what I know of these people, like Marjorie Taylor Greene is just a fucking anti-Semite. So like, if her understanding of, and I don't think she is very smart. So if her understanding of Israel is that they're all Jewish people, and she's like the Jewish space lasers lady, then like she just doesn't like. It's same with Candace Owens too. Like they just don't like Israel because they don't like Jews, and they just think Israel's all Jews. That's my understanding, at least.
I remember
So
seeing. I
Go ahead.
remember seeing a video ages ago that showed a Muslim man walking the streets of Jerusalem, and he talked about it as Jeru-Salem, as two separate areas where one side was occupied by people of his religion and one side was occupied by people of Jewish faith. And how accurate that was, I don't know, and I probably will never know without going to find that video again to make sure that my recollection of it is not inaccurate. But
Fair enough.
like the problem with Israel, which is a really loaded statement to say, the problem with Israel seems to mostly boil down to the territories that it tries to take from other people around it and how entitled it feels to those territories. That seems to be the majority of the issue there. Like, obviously there's other problems, like Orthodox Judaism as a religion for the area having problems with people who are gay, people who are trans. Obviously it's an ethnostate, and there's a lot of problems where that's concerned. That's a really light way to say there's a lot of problems with an ethnostate. There's a fuck ton of problems with an ethnostate.
I would say it's kind of cringe. I think ethnostates are pretty cringe, honestly.
I think they're pretty cringe too. But my point that I get in there is that, like, the conversation where Israel is concerned can be had without ever uttering the word Jew until you get to the ethnostate stuff. Like, once you get to the ethnostate stuff, you kind of have to a little bit, because at a certain point you're just like, okay, at what point did Judaism get considered an what is it? It's considered an ethnocultural religion. I don't remember the exact word, but it's not just a religion. There is a small blending of race in there as well when I was reading about it. Like, that stuff does end up having to get talked about when you talk about the ethnostate stuff with Israel, but most of the time people are talking about its invasion of Gaza right now.
And even then, like, it's not like they're building a free and fair society for Jewish people. Like, if you're a Jewish person and you disagree with what Israel's doing, they'll be like, get the fuck out. We don't want you here.
Yeah,
like,
ethno-religious, that's the word, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, even in that regard, like, yeah, they're building an ethnostate of Jewish people, sure. But, again, it's not like the Jewish people there have, like, full rights. You know, like, so it goes way beyond, like, just, you know, Israel's full of Jews, therefore Jews bad.
Said, but have you considered that instead of an ethno-state, we have an ethno-religious state? Come on, simple math.
It's about America first, about MAGA, and their complete acquiescence to the idea that a nuclear Iran seems to be fine for the world. An asinine notion rejected by anyone with half a brain. Right now,
A nuclear
things are
America
very,
is
very
great for the
hot
world.
between
Oh, God, no, it's an advertisement. No!
Yes.
No, that's it. No, we're not doing...
I'm
Wait,
surprised we didn't already get one.
that means that's the... Okay, now he's going to be talking to another person. So he's Senator Tom Cotton. What an unfortunate name. So, I guess that's really it for what Ben Shapiro wanted to tell us, because now he's bringing on a guest, and that leads into things being a little different than what we were talking with. I don't know. It mostly seemed like he was doing everything in his power to defend Trump while using a bunch of fallacies to attack Tucker. And, like, don't get me wrong, I'm A-okay with attacking Tucker Carlson. Dude's kind of a rube. But still,
Yeah.
I don't think I gained much out of that.
I just wish it weren't on, like, the one thing he's correct on, even if it's, like, completely coming from, like, a bad place, why he's correct on it, sure. But, like, you know, being against what Israel is doing is in itself in a vacuum a good thing. So like he's attacking Tucker Carlson on like the one good thing, the one good position he holds. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You know,
and also like he talked about like the boots on the grounds thing, but like considering what Israel has already done, and like they were the ones who attacked Iran first, like, you know, they're just going to keep moving the goalposts. Like, oh, well, boots on the ground, sure, but like they're not like lining people up against a wall and shooting them. And then it's like when they start doing that, it's like, well, they're all terrorists. They deserve it. They'll just keep moving the goalposts. They always do this.
And like earlier today, Trump went on to, because like Trump went on to Truth Social and basically said that Iran didn't accept such and such deal. What a terrible waste of life, which, you know, there's no way to read that other than a threat, right? There's no way to read that other than the thing. If somebody comes to you and they go, hey, do you want to go to dinner tonight? No. That's a shame. I'm sorry it had to end this way. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to think of that statement?
Oh, man.
Like, I'm just going to assume the next thing out of your hand is going to be either a key blast or a gun. So, with that being what Trump decided to go do on Truth Social, we see that the United States is actively doing things to escalate the conflict in the Middle East. They're doing things to escalate Iran. Which is weird, because like one of the arguments for Israel being one of our allies has been that Israel is a note of stability in the Middle East. But has it been? I don't think it has been. Like historically, I don't think that's been the case.
They may possibly be the largest and most well-funded terror group in the entire Middle East.
Just boy. And now we're going to see Trump go from threatening one of the cities in Iran to switching it up and being a taco about it afterwards. Very, very likely, as he always does. Chuck Schumer actually made a video about this, and I'm not a fan of Chuck, but just going to go ahead and throw this out there to be the thing we end this particular segment on.
When it comes to negotiating with the terrorist government...
No, stop.
Sure.
Autoplay is bad. Stop. There we go. All right, so we can see...
I hate that on the shorts.
Yep. All right, so we can see Chuck Schumer here. Let's go ahead and pop over to him. Hi, buddy. Remember when you threw trans people under the bus? I remember that.
True.
When it comes to negotiating with the terrorist government of Iran, Trump's all over the lot. One day he sounds tough, the next day he's backing off. And now, all of a sudden, we find out that Witkoff and Rubio are negotiating a secret side deal with Iran. What kind of bull is this? They're going to sound tough in public and then have a side deal that lets Iran get away with everything? That's outrageous. We need to make that side deal public. Any side deal should be before Congress and, most importantly, the American people. If Taco Trump is already folding, the American public should know about it. No side deals. When it comes...
So, on the one hand, I agree with this statement. On the other hand, it's coming from Chuck Schumer, who's an establishment Democrat, so I'm just going to assume that the statement has no bearing and no weight.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really give a shit what he has to say anymore, to be honest with you.
I do find it funny that this whole defense from Ben is about Trump and his rigorous stance on Iran, and then the conversation that's happening outside of that, even amongst politicians, is, yeah, but Trump always chickens out. Like, he's going to be tough on Iran today, and then he's going to be a bitch about it tomorrow, and then he's going to post on Truth Social in a different way. He's going to ping pong across the wall, and you're not going to know what he's going to be wanting because he doesn't plan. He just fucking reacts to shit.
It is true. I don't know, like, if egging him on to, like, because couldn't this come off as, like, Chuck Schumer, like, you know, egging on Trump to, like, commit harder to attacking Iran?
It could, if we believed that Trump took anything that a Democrat that wasn't giving him money seriously said.
Yeah, I guess. I just don't know if I like the idea of like, well, he said he was going to do the tariffs, but then he doesn't do the tariffs, and I guess the tariffs that was fine, but like when it comes to Israel, I don't know.
Like, I can see your perspective where it comes off as trying to go, nah, you said you were going to do it, go ahead and commit, and the end result of that would be, it would cost millions of lives. Especially with Israel doing things like attacking Iran's nuclear reactors. That would cost millions of lives. On the other hand, I think holding a president to task and pointing out that this is an unserious person who cannot be taken seriously still has utility, even if it comes with that potential risk.
That's true. I think especially because people see Trump as like this strong man who's like going to knuckle down and you know, bring the boot down on everybody and show everybody who's boss. And it's like, well, no, you're kind of being a pussy, bro. You can't commit to anything. So, yeah, that's a good point. I can see your perspective too.
Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press, though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.